let's just jump right into it because we're here, and
Yeah.
certainly appreciate you taking the time. We've really enjoyed getting to know summertime and having that as part of our playlist. And even though we haven't, to be honest, in Kansas City had a lot of really summer-like days, we're still kind of caught in this cloudy, rainy mix for the last month. It does feel like a summer song, and it kind of puts us in that mood.
Yeah. I'm glad. I'm glad it can bring the summer and the gloomy the gloomy moment.
Yeah, it helps us kind of cut through all the rain and the clouds. So one of the parts that we love about, I mean, one of the things I love about our station is not only is it about music discovery, but it's also about discovering artists and discovering about people. And so we're really glad that you could take the time with us today as we get to learn a little more about you, because you are a new name to us. And going back and listening to your EP, for example, really pick up on some interesting things. So you're from Oakland, California, right? But you've recorded mostly in New Orleans. So where is your car right about now? Are you still in New Orleans area?
So yes. And first of all, I'm like just so grateful for this too. So thank you, just first and foremost. But yes, so my car is currently parked in New Orleans. But I am from Oakland, California. That's home. Um, and I originally came out to New Orleans 3 years ago. I was going to school. And I was studying music, and then I started just spending so much time outside of school doing music. So I decided to take time off and really just pour all my energy and time into that. And I just fell in love with New Orleans. I fell in love with the people, the art, everything. So I've just been here since. Yeah.
It's a good place. Yeah, it's a place you can have a lot of fun. I've definitely had some fun around New Orleans, and it's very musical too. I mean, you couldn't get really any better musical heritage than New Orleans.
Yeah, it's a really interesting place. I mean, it's like the home of jazz. I just feel like there's also just like so many different kinds of people, which like it reminds me of Oakland a lot. I feel like they have similarities where there's kind of people from all over.
Hmm.
Nice mixing pot. So I feel like with I don't know, I really just love being surrounded by that and that energy, like with I don't know, it inspires me a lot, like for my music and like my art too, just to see all these different perspectives and, you know, different people.
Yeah, we just a couple of weeks ago we talked to John Batiste, and of course his family is like royalty there in New Orleans when it comes to music, and he's got a whole. I mean, you've probably run into some of his nephews, nieces, uncles down there at some point, but it really is incredible how they have. And his family's not the only one. I mean, there are dynasties down there of musicians and just families that create music and go back decades in doing so. It's just really incredible.
Wow. Yeah. That's
So
inspiring. Like that's all I can
yeah,
say. Like that's just the word that always comes to mind. It's just inspiring. Like even just being in New Orleans too, not even just like the music, like the like architecture and just like the
yeah,
history of it. Everything is just like, yeah, it's just
yeah. It's an interesting place. It really is. All the unique styles and everything that come together down there, and the food. I'm sure. I mean, that's of course I love music and food, so I can't tear myself away from those two things. But it
Mhm.
is an incredible cuisine place too.
Yes. Yes. The seafood. Amazing. It's
Absolutely.
all amazing. So
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it may be a little cliche at this point, but I did get caught up in the Cafe Du Monde and the whole beignets and all that stuff. And right. I couldn't avoid that spot for sure.
you gotta try it.
Okay. So let's talk about young Satya, right? So you growing up, was there music in your house? Did you have a lot of music played, as you were growing up, and that sort of filtered into your consciousness?
Absolutely, yeah. So like growing up, my mom was a dancer, so I feel like there was just like always she was always playing music. She also was just like a very artistic person, so we always had some form of art in our house. We always had like a lot of paintings, even, or just I don't know. There's always something playing in the background. Like some of like my first memories, it's like my house was like kind of small, but I remember like no matter where you were in the house, you could always hear music like coming from the living room. So definitely,
Hmm.
I feel like that seeped in a lot. Um, Also, like a lot of the schools that I went to, like I feel like we're very like musical. So like my elementary school that I went to, I remember like every week we had like all school sing and like
Oh,
when I
yeah.
yeah, and like when I was like in yeah, when I was in middle school, I just feel like throughout like my childhood, I was very grateful that like all of the like education that I got, it was like very like arts incorporated. And when I went to high school, I went to Oakland School for the Arts and like um I studied music there. I was in like the vocal department. So that was getting older, but my younger
Yeah.
self,
Yeah.
I was definitely just surrounded by like a lot of music. Yeah, my sisters are really musical, so
And I've seen a lot of the names that you've thrown out in various interviews. Sade, of course, very. I mean, that is ubiquitous for a lot of us growing up. I mean, great music there. But also naming like Nora Jones and Mazzy Star, even, which I think you said at one point, and it just really different points of the musical universe too.
yeah. I mean, those are like the. I feel like I don't know when people ask me like who I used to listen to, it's always like I feel like I can list like 1,000 people, but those
Sure.
are just
Yeah.
like the staple ones. Like yeah, like Sade, Corinne Bailey Rae, India Arie was like huge
Hmm.
inspiration for me. But yeah, all of the good peoples.
Yeah. So, I mean, one sort of point that I'm interested in is, just like all of us, we hear all of these artists. Each one of us could list 1,000, people that we listen to. So,
Yeah.
when it comes time for you to begin to create your own music, how do you decide to pick your voice? Was there somebody that you were kind of modeling after, or how did you really find your own sound?
Um, I don't really think that I like chose somebody that I necessarily was like, I'm gonna model after this person. I think that like probably subconsciously, like a lot of people like their techniques or their styles probably kind of like seeped in. Um, but yeah, I think like when I go about um I don't know, when I go about like my writing or like when I'm writing a song, I feel like I tend to not. I think the thing that actually like catches me up is when I like try to try to kind of recreate something like someone else, or when I
Yeah.
kind of try to like put myself in somebody else's style. I feel like I just get to in my head and I'm like, this is it. So I think like the best way is when I'm just kind of like not thinking about it. But yeah, I think like I don't know, my writing process is kind of like I don't know why I want to say like free flowing, I guess, but I try not to really like think about it until at least like I have the structure of the song or like a melody before I kind of think about all the like little nitpicky things. You know what I mean?
Sure. And I mean, at least from what I've read, some of that comes from the fact that you journaled before,
Yeah.
right? You did a lot of writing just even as a kid about life stuff growing up.
Yeah. Journaling is like just a huge part of my life. Like I need to do it. um,
Hmm.
and so like growing up, I feel like just like the way that I think, there's just a lot in my brain a lot. And so it's really nice to just have like a dedicated time in your day where you're just getting that all out. And I remember like when I was little, I used to free write a lot. Like I think like they let us do it in school, or like my sisters would like kind of talk about free writing sometimes.
Hmm.
But yeah, when I would like feel really worked up about something or something was on my heart or like my mind, I would just have to sit and like free write. And that's I feel like where like all of my music stems from. Like whenever I'm like writing a song, I really am like going back in my journal and like picking out like really, what was on my mind. I think it's important for everybody, honestly. It's like very therapeutic.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of that seemed to have come out on your first EP, right? Because there was a lot of that in there, especially
Mhm.
from a breakup sense. And
Yeah.
your imagery was so distinct on that one. I mean, we're not going to fit in this boat together, so
Nope.
you're out. I just thought it was, I just thought it was great. It's a great EP, but the pain, the experience of that is really felt in those songs.
Thank you. I like really appreciate that. Yeah, like that is something that like I just feel like almost like releasing like my EP or like working on kind of like my next stuff right now. That's something that I'm learning because it's like it's a very vulnerable process because it's literally like
Hmm.
I'm writing exactly like I'm writing like some really deep stuff like that's very personal to me that's like literally straight from like a diary that I'm putting into a song. So like one thing that I'm just like getting more comfortable. It's like, you know, like putting out an EP like that or putting out something that's like really talking about some of my like deep, heavy stuff. I'm just getting comfortable with like sharing that with everybody and people like really like
Yes.
reading it. That's been a huge thing. But it's also, I don't know, it's like it's been a really like beautiful process too, because like I think like the music that I'm drawn to and like the music like growing up that I was always drawn to was always like not necessarily I don't only love like sad music, but like sometimes, you know, like when you hear a song, somebody like really words something so deep that you didn't even know you were feeling, but you like felt it, you know? And I
Mhm.
feel like that really just comes from a place of like people being so open and like vulnerable. And so like that's something that I definitely am like, I I can get over me feeling a little uncomfy if this is gonna help somebody or like reach somebody, you know. But
Well, it makes sense though, because I mean, look, sad songs have such an earnestness to them because it requires that vulnerability. Whereas maybe, and this is just it's just a device, but like happy songs, you don't really feel like you need a lot of stuff, right? To be happy. You don't have to dig
yeah,
very deep, right? Like I could just be
yeah,
happy and let's sing about dancing and singing, right?
yeah.
And so, yeah,
You're
it is sort
you're
of
wrong
different level.
though. Yeah, yeah, no, sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say it just takes a different level to really get into an emotional, sad song because there's a lot of stuff behind that.
Yeah, yeah. It definitely does take a lot and like at the same time I do love the happy music too. I think that is important as well. But yeah, there definitely is, I feel like a whole other layer to, you know, really writing about like some heavy stuff. But I love it all.
You know, talking about getting comfortable with that, with the thought of exposing all of that to the world. And so I'm listening the other day to an interview with Olivia Rodrigo. You know, driver's license. My daughter loves
Mhm.
that song, that album, and so Olivia was talking about she's brand new to this as well, and she has to go in now to a room where there's 5 producers and writers and reveal her deepest, darkest secrets, right? And this is like, whoa, how do I? And so you know, you get a sense of that process, and I'm sure you are sort of going through the same thing now, like, okay, I've got to go in and sort of bare my soul to these people that I may not even know very well.
Yeah, definitely. So like that's if I was just talking about that with my friend actually. But so like one thing I'm like very grateful for, it's like the I work with 2 producers. One of the producers, Tall Ariel, he's the one that produced my EP, Flourish Against Fracture. And I feel like I have like a really close relationship with them. So
Mhm.
it's not, I haven't really been in a situation yet where I'm just meeting
Right.
someone for the first time and I'm like, this is, yeah, these are my deepest, darkest secrets. But no, but it's still, that's like, it's still like a very vulnerable, like working with a producer is like a very vulnerable like thing for me.
Mhm.
So I feel very grateful that like I have a very good like relationship with both of the people that I work with. Because yeah, it's like they're like it feels like they're holding space for me too. You know, I'm sitting there, I'm like telling them it's like I can't really hide what I'm going through. And if we really, really want to capture too, like the actual like vulnerability or like really make it authentic, sometimes it's like, you know, like we're working on like a new project right now and like um one thing I actually really appreciated about like both of my producers is every song they really made sure they really wanted to like read through like we had like a whole meeting where we just like read through like all the lyrics I wrote and they really wanted like the backstories for all of it, which was like definitely felt it was a lot, but like I don't know, I think that's really important too because it's also their art too, so I feel like they want to create that connection and understand the backstory of it all. But
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a lot I mean, it's still a lot for you. You've got to do the heavy lifting on bringing the, the backstory of that and all that goes with it, right? I mean, there could be pain, there's, could be things that you don't want to think about or haven't thought about for a while that you've probably got to bring there too.
Yeah. Yes. Definitely. It's a lot. It's a lot. But it's like I keep saying the same words, but it feels like therapeutic too, because it's like the same way that like I feel like I see like journaling is therapeutic. It's like it just feels very beautiful to like, I don't know, have so much on my mind, be going through something, write it all down, and like, or even now, like looking back and like listening to like Flourish Against Fracture and like listening to all my lyrics and listening, I feel so removed from it now because I feel like I like got that all off of my chest and I could like place all of those experiences somewhere. And now I feel like I can just see all of the growth that I've like had from that situation. And so I don't know, it kind of feels like I am placing my experiences in places. So yeah, it feels really, it's very rewarding, I guess.
Well, let's talk about summertime in that context, because for as much as, again, you sort of get the imagery of get the heck away from me from Flourish Against Fracture, and summertime does seem like a life change, like you are now staring deeply into someone's eyes and that it's a complete 180 and hopefully a different story for you. So how about summertime and where does that come from?
So I first wrote Summertime. It was like the very beginning of when quarantine hit, and I was right before quarantine hit. It was Mardi Gras, and I was in New Orleans. Yeah, and I remember I wasn't in school at the time, but I'm living with a bunch of people who were, and last minute everything was shutting down. There was just like a lot of change in my life all of a sudden. I just met this person that I was like really, really getting to know and like really falling in love with, and out of nowhere everything shifted. Everybody kind of had to move out and move away, and I moved back to Oakland, where I was quarantined. I was in my house with my mom, and I was by myself and I was writing like all the time. And Summertime, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's like about like just one situation, but like when I think of that song, it kind of just like reminds me of that time. And like I wrote it about really like how I wanted to like be seen and how I want to be loved. Because like, yeah, again, I just feel like since I was just spending so much time alone, I was like really just reflecting a lot. And I feel like one thing, like how I desire to be loved and seen, I just like really want to be seen in like my full authentic self. Like I say, like you have to love the frizz and the cellulite. Like you have to love like my full body and like everything that comes with it and my whole being. So yeah, it was kind of about that. And also I don't know, just like kind of the sound itself and just like the way that it was produced. I really just like wanted it to kind of capture that essence of like the feeling of falling in love with somebody and getting to know somebody and like really hitting that point where it's like it's more than just like the beginning stages. It's really like diving deep into that person. So yeah, I wanted it to sound sweet and like summertime.
Yeah. Well, it does. You hit it. I mean, and it's interesting to get the backstory because my notes on that are sort of interesting. That I felt like it wasn't about a romance, fully cooked. It wasn't about that you're 10 years down the road and you've been with this person forever. But at that transition point of just really getting into the relationships, like ramping up.
Yeah.
And that's how I saw that song.
That makes me happy because that's exactly what's happening. So
that's good. So are you working now on developing a full album? Or are you going to go for a longer project? What's in the works for you?
So right now we're going to call her a project.
Okay.
But there's definitely so much in the works right now. I'm working with the same producers. They both did Summertime. And yeah, like what I can say about it really again, with me in my journaling.
Yeah.
I definitely I feel like this next project is really like based around like my own like healing from like a lot of stuff like with my childhood, and a lot of healing, just a lot of like reflection and healing and change, and that's kind of all like kind of wrapped up what it's gonna be. But I'm like very excited. She's almost there. But yeah,
That's great. And of course, I mean, naturally, with the world getting back to things and we're able to get back to shows, and I'm sure you're really grateful, plans to take this on the road and to tour and put it in front of audiences.
yes, that has been my dream. I'm like literally so excited to even like hear that, because I've been like waiting for so long. Yes, that is like the plan. I really just want to do as many live shows as I can. I have a huge dream to like do a tour one day and all that. But definitely, yeah, there's gonna be some like really fun stuff happening this year, and like also just, I mean, a lot of fun stuff in New Orleans too. But definitely, like, I'll be back in Oakland, which I'm excited about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, also just like I'm really excited to not only just with like my art too, but I'm really excited to just like go and see all of these artists too that have been like delivering
Yeah.
this year, definitely.
Oh, sure. No, we're ready to bust out. It's crazy. We've got 6 or 8 shows we're announcing every week, and it's going to be a fun like end of summer, fall time. And I was going to ask you, like, how much experience do you have performing some of your own work? Because I mean, just as you were getting into it, and the EP was what, 2018. So
yeah.
Did you have a lot of time to perform that for people before the pandemic?
Not so I did a lot of shows like since I've been in New Orleans, and even like when I was like in Oakland like a little bit. I've like always just done live shows. I just like love doing gigs. Like I'll even do like I'll sing on my porch. Like
Yeah.
but no, we didn't really get to do like a full Flourish Against Fracture, like show or like tour or anything. So I really also like this year I feel like I want to make up for that, and also I want to make up for that, and I also just really I'm excited to also really like be playing my new stuff too, because I don't want to say it's like a different I feel like your sound is always constantly evolving and like changing, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited for this like new sound and this new chapter too. So
I've seen that you brought guitar, piano. Do you compose on those instruments? Do you involve them in your show? Are you going to play on the record?
yeah. Well, I write on piano and guitar, mostly guitar. I also, I love playing guitar like live, but I also like my favorite thing ever is playing with like a full live band. So
Mm-hmm.
that is also the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting that together.
That's so cool. That is awesome. All right. So what kind of car do you have, by the way? Because you're in the car again doing this interview.
Oh, yes. I'm in my beautiful Toyota.
Excellent.
Like I got my beautiful steering wheel.
Okay, that's the drum kit right there.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
All right. So what is on the car karaoke playlist? What are you going to be belting out as you go down the road today?
Okay. Does it have to be my own stuff?
No, it doesn't have to be. No. I'm just asking, like, what are you going to be belting out? For, any tunes? What's on the playlist right now?
Well, my favorite song ever is Raspberry Beret by Prince.
Oh yeah.
So that will be first. Let's see. Well, we have to do a Corinne Bailey Rae song because, of course.
Yep.
And that's a really good question. Oh, and we're gonna do Tyrone by Erykah Badu.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's
sweet, excellent belting tune. Yeah.
Yeah. Go all out with that one. Get the head wrap on.
Well, Satya, it's been a real pleasure and a treat to be able to talk to you during this time. And I had another note too, because just as I was doing research about stuff and even just looking you up when we first started playing the song, I noticed this, and I didn't know for you if you had ever, or if that was the thing that came up about where your name came from, or if you ever really got into that. But I saw that it was a West Indian word that it means truth.
Yeah.
And after talking to you today, I think that's even more evident because there's so much earnestness and truth in your music and projects. I thought that was pretty fitting.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it does mean truth. And yeah, definitely, I mean, as I've been like growing older too, I find more and more like connection to my name and really like realizing how important it is and how much it really speaks to me too. So I'm really glad that that like comes out in my music as well. That's like the goal.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, if you get on the road, come to Kansas City. We'll be waiting for you, and certainly love to experience all of this in person. So,
Yeah.
wish you the best, and hopefully, we'll see you down the road.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Definitely come one day.